This is Dominic Dajakovic, and I want you to feast your eyes and ears on Aaron and Tom on the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show.
Lord, help me, I just need some motivation. And I got tired of all these rumors and they hate. I feel my best when I'm worry-free. Mama, don't you worry, ain't nobody hurting me. Yeah, Lord, help me, I just need some motivation.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show. I'm Aaron. That's Tom. Tonight, a very special guest. It's Skyler Orion. How is it going?
Hey, guys. It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I was able to catch you live recently for Girl Fight in Bedford, Indiana. And I'll be straight honest with you. It was my first time actually being able to watch you perform. And I remember texting Tom right in the middle of the match against you and Billy Starks. And I said, man, Skyler Orion reminds me of a young Mickey James. And I can see your face. Maybe that's a little shocking to you, but everything about everything about the way that you were performing in the ring, from your character work to your in-ring work, I thought was really clicking that night. So tell everyone out there who may not be aware of you yet about your wrestling career and how young were you when you finally decided to be a pro wrestler?
Yeah. So what's kind of funny is I did not grow up watching wrestling at all. I don't think I had seen any wrestling until I was an adult. I was in college and my friend took me to a Royal Rumble party. And that was the first wrestling I had ever seen. And I fell in love with it that night. I looked my friend dead in the eyes. I was like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. And the next day I was in training. So that was when I was 18. I trained when I was 18 for about 9 or 10 months, but I never had a match. I was just too young and not experienced enough. So I took a little break and I'm 22 now, and I just picked back up with training about a year ago, and I've been having matches for about 4 months. So
you think it's strange to have not gotten to wrestling until you're an adult, but you'd be surprised how many guests we have on the show who never watched wrestling as a kid and didn't get into it until the later stages.
That's a huge relief, because I always feel that's such a disadvantage for having started so late in my life. I feel like I'm doing all this catching up now, which is great for me because I can't get enough of it. But
now, you talk about catching up. Do you find yourself going back and trying to watch some of the wrestling from the past for inspiration, or do you kind of just stick to the training?
Oh, I've definitely started down the rabbit hole of wrestling. And especially like there's so many things that people don't really use anymore that I like to go back and like rediscover and try to incorporate that into my wrestling. So that's like a big fun thing for me. And again, I want to take in all that I can. So I've been really trying to like work through the back catalog of wrestling for sure.
So before you got into pro wrestling and that Royal Rumble experience, what were your plans?
So at that time, I was a physics major. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I really loved physics. I was really honestly kind of lost. So wrestling kind of found me when I found it. But I ended up dropping out of college pretty quickly after I discovered wrestling because I couldn't keep my mind off of wrestling.
Now, did you have an athletic background at all in any sports?
So I played a little bit of volleyball and a little bit of track and field, but the things that I can do with my body now, it just astound me every day. Like I'm way more athletic than I ever even knew. It kind of blows my mind, to be honest.
So what are some of the things in training that you found that was difficult or that kind of was a eye-opener for you when you just started out?
It was all the little things. Like I was in the worst shape of my life when I first started back around this time. It was the middle of COVID. I definitely had the COVID-15 going on. And it was a lot of the little stuff. I'm like not a good jumper at all. So like leapfrogs and like banderas out of the ring, stuff like that, like just the little stuff. And I'm such a perfectionist, so it's like I want everything I do to look very clean. So I think I was very surprised at how hard it was to make things look really good. And I've focused a lot of my like workouts and my extra stuff just solely around making everything look really crisp. So
now, what was your family's reaction when you told them, look, I'm going to drop this whole physics ordeal and I'm going to go be a pro wrestler?
Yeah. It's still a work in progress. They're very supportive, but they don't really get it at the same time. You know what I mean? So they want to. I actually just had my family come to the first show ever. They weren't wrestling fans either, so like not only just their first show seeing me, but their first show with wrestling ever, and they actually had a really good time.
So when you're going back and you're rewatching older stuff that you had missed out on, is there any female talent or any male talent that you kind of draw inspiration from and have been really studying?
Gail Kim is a woman I really, really enjoy watching. There's a lot. I mean, Mickie James obviously is another one, which is why I was so excited for that compliment. But there's a lot of talented, like older wrestling that I draw from. Shawn Michaels is just one of my favorite to watch. Oh my God, it's all good. It really is.
Now, do you find yourself, as you're developing your character and working through those things, do you find yourself gravitated towards certain styles, or is it kind of just a work in progress type thing where you're just molding it as you go?
It's definitely a work in progress. I personally like technical wrestling the best. Jonathan Gresham is one of my favorite wrestlers. Alex Shelley, but of course, like that level of just knowing how to move people and manipulate the body is just, that's a whole nother game. You know what I mean? So I haven't quite mastered it yet, but that's definitely my favorite. Technical wrestling just keeps my mind so like engaged. That's what I really love about it. So that's a style that I really like to start really mastering. But right now it's really, really just a work in progress.
You know, about 10 years ago, it was kind of hard to find out all the independent wrestlers around the world. Social media hadn't really taken off yet. It was, kind of starting out a little bit. But nowadays, there are hundreds upon thousands of talent that are trying to get their foot into the door to get bookings. It seems like now there's more talent out there than there ever has been. And it may just be because we are just now becoming more aware of all the great talent of men and women out there. Have you found it hard in this day and age to get your foot into the door and get booked on certain shows?
I don't want to jinx myself, but no. I haven't had too hard of an issue with it. I don't know why that is, because like some of my other friends have harder times with it. I think I've just been really blessed. I think COVID's been helpful because everybody's kind of like just coming back from that, and so everybody's kind of looking for people, and you know what I mean. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I found it overall pretty easy. And like 4 months into having matches, I have a very full schedule, and I'm very blessed.
So I recently had seen a promo that you had put on Instagram, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed with all of the things that you were saying and being able to articulate your thoughts. And it was a pretty lengthy promo. Is that something that you have a huge focus on and want to be a promo person, or is that just something that you were like, I needed to get this done, so I did it?
Yeah, so I think it comes from not having that strong wrestling background. I bring a very like different perspective, right? Like writing has always been a big passion of mine. So this has been kind of an outlet for that. And so I have a lot more like, I don't know. I have very different promos than like the typical wrestler promo, which, you know, I want that to be my style, my signature, you know, work. But yeah, I really enjoy promo work, and it is an outlet for me. And that promo in particular, I incorporated a lot of like physics concepts, which, as I mentioned earlier, is what I went to school for. And that's something I definitely want to incorporate. So yeah.
Well, it reminded me of kind of like a Bray Wyatt-esque promo where it's smarter than me, and I'm just kind of blown away, and like I totally get what you're saying, but you're super smart, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I completely get what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the vibe I was going for.
Yeah, you're just getting compliments everywhere. You're getting a young Mickey James, and you're getting Bray Wyatt on the promo. I mean,
I know. I'll be on your show anytime. Blowing up my head.
So even though you're kind of still young into it, has there been a humbling experience wrestling any certain talent so far where after the match you were just kind of like, wow, and then you went to that person and got advice from them on how to maybe perhaps better something?
I would say definitely that match with Billy. I was really happy with the way it turned out, but when you're standing in the ring with somebody that young who's that talented, and you're like, I am X many years behind them, that was very humbling. It just made me like so hungry to get better faster, and just working with her was incredible. And she's so young, and I'm so jealous. I wish I could have those years back or have known about wrestling at her age. So that was definitely a humbling experience for sure.
Yeah, you know, the girl fight card, you know, was very eye-opening to me. It was really my first ever all-women's show that I've been able to attend. And I came away from that thinking more promotions should really push this idea. I know WWE had WWE Evolution. NWA is about to have an all-women's show as well. But there is so much talent out there, and I was entertained for every single match. Nothing seemed the same. Your match against Billy was not the same type of match as Charlie Cruel versus Mickey Knuckles.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of everything during those cards. Do you feel that we're on the verge of perhaps more promotions going strictly all women?
I hope so. I really do. Women's wrestling is incredible. And I know that for a long time it hasn't been held to the same standard as men's, and that's just kind of a fact of the business, but it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. And I know so many, I've gotten the chance to meet so many incredible women. I think that we absolutely can put on an entertaining 2 hours of wrestling. and we should, you know?
Yeah, I definitely feel like the business, the male-dominated business, they held the women down for so long, and I think it was more they were afraid that their spots would be taken away, and you can see why, because the things that women can do in the matches and the stories that they can tell are a lot of times a lot more compelling than what the men are doing.
Yeah.
I think they were afraid of that. And now, you know, things are a little different, and hopefully we'll see more and more of it as it progresses.
Yeah, I'm really hoping so too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the women, you know, in the 80s, a lot of those women were actually trained by Moolah. And so she would train them in the way that she was trained. But nowadays, we've got people like Alex Shelley training females. We've got other males who are fantastic performers training the females, along with a new generation of female trainers as well.
Yeah.
And they are training you to be wrestlers, not women wrestling.
Yep.
Just wrestlers. And I think that's a great thing that we're seeing all across the board right now.
Yeah. At our training school, I train at Believe Wrestling Academy, which is in Dayton, and I'm trained by Ace Austin. And like, it's me and one other girl, Gia Miller, who was also at that girl fight show. We train together, and we're the only two girls, and we get treated exactly the same. We do all the same drills as all the guys, and that experience has definitely helped me. And Ace Austin is an amazing trainer.
Yeah, you mentioned Ace Austin, you mentioned Gia Miller. Both of them had ties to Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
So here you are, early stages, and you're already be training with some talents that are on television each and every week. How does that make you feel?
I mean, one, they're incredible. They're incredible people. They're incredible trainers. Yeah, it's definitely a great connection to have. And of course, Impact is one of my goals. Although I have a lot of work to do till I get to that point. But having that connection and also the insight that they can give me into like that world, right? And like because it is a different kind of beast, you know what I mean? Television wrestling is different. So they're just able to give so much good advice from that viewpoint that I would probably miss out on if I were training somewhere else. So it's been a really great experience with them.
So what are some things that are you right now wanting to focus on to kind of get you to that next level?
That's a good question. I think it's a lot of just experience, reps, traveling farther and like to new places, meeting new people, getting to work with new people, attending seminars, just really soaking in all the knowledge I can get. I put in a lot of work outside of just training as far as like diet and working out. So I think that, like, just even kind of upping my game on that standpoint as well. But there's really a lot that I'm working on right now.
So outside of pro wrestling, let's get to know you a little bit better outside of that. So if you're not booked for a show for the weekend, and what is your normal weekend like? Because I know during the weekends when you guys are traveling back and forth, what do you like to do for fun?
So I also went back to school and got my degree in audio engineering. So I am really big into music. So I make a lot of music in my free time. I work at a studio. So yeah, it's either music or it's wrestling. That's pretty much it.
And what type of music do you actually dabble in?
All the stuff that I do on a personal level for my personal projects are like digital compositions. I don't play any instruments besides the piano. But then I also record and produce other people.
So when you look at the landscape of pro wrestling mixed in with your musical talent, is that something that you think that you could probably weave into your character as well at some point?
I would definitely like to. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of link there. I just have to find it. Like, where do they cross over? Where do they meet? Even like, I'd like to eventually make my own entrance music. I'm just so picky and hard on myself that it's just like, I've started that project a couple times, but every time I'm just like, I just scrap it, throw it away.
Hey, it can definitely happen. Look at Hit Row right now in NXT.
Yeah.
A few months back, they were just kind of lounging around, not doing much with any of them. And now it's one of my favorite acts on all of NXT.
Yeah.
It's flowing. They are fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely one of my goals, because to marry those two worlds nothing would make me happier.
All right, I'm going to ask you some questions. They are going to be, I just want your first responses on them. I kind of do this with everyone. That way more people can learn more about the talent that we have on the show. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Your favorite restaurant is what?
My favorite restaurant? Oh my God. Probably Chipotle. Does that count?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The best movie of all time is what?
Big Fish.
It's crazy. I don't know if a lot of people have ever watched that.
That movie is wrestling in a non-wrestling sense.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, have you ever seen Big Fish?
Not.
Okay. It is a wild trip with all the storylines that kind of come together. It was probably early 2000s when it came out, but it is definitely worth going out of your way to watch. That is amazing that you said Big Fish, because I don't know if we'd ever have anybody else on here that would say Big Fish.
Wrestling reminds me a lot of that, just like how you turn stories up to 10, for wrestling. You just make them bigger than reality.
Oh, absolutely. Your dream match as of this moment would be against who?
Probably Gresham.
I tell you, that man right now is on fire. And he's, and it's crazy, as big of a name as he is, and most people, we've had a lot of people on this show who mentioned Jonathan Gresham.
Yeah.
There's still so many people that still don't know who Jonathan Gresham is.
It's a shame.
Because their world is so WWE or AEW that they don't expand their mind to the technical genius that is Jonathan Gresham.
Oh, genius, that's the best word for it. If I could stand across the ring from him and know that I had a place there across the ring from him, that would definitely be one of my goals.
If, by chance, you are asked tomorrow to either take $1 million or become a talent in the WWE, which one are you taking? The cash guaranteed or WWE?
Definitely WWE. Having a lot of money scares me.
Are you a big spender?
I'm not a big spender, but I would be if I had that much money.
Yeah, my wife says she's not a big spender either, and then I look at the bank account, and then so that's probably going to get me in trouble a little bit later on. Really? Yeah, definitely. Right now, when you look at everything so far in your life, and do you feel like everything is falling into place for you right now in the next 2 years, everyone's going to know the name Skyler Orion?
Yeah, definitely. The projection is looking good.
Projections. She's the young Mickey James.
The young Mickey James. Yeah. You heard it here first.
So when you're not wrestling, do you love just going to shows still, or are you not able to go to any shows to actually watch some of your friends wrestle, or are you just strictly either you're at your show and you're wrestling at those, or are you able to still be a fan as well?
Oh, I'm still a fan. I'm still a fan probably more than most wrestlers are, because I missed out on all those young years of being a wrestling fan. I'm still so blown away by wrestling and other wrestlers and what we're doing with our bodies. It's crazy. I get really sad when I see like a wrestler who's kind of gotten jaded to it. Because it's incredible what we do, and I hop into the car any free time I get. Like, in fact, I really don't have free time because I'm always in the car.
Being a fan for as many years as I have, it's tough. To watch the bigger promotions is very tough. To watch the independents is like a breath of fresh air for me, because they're still trying to do the basics. I don't feel like anyone's lazy. I think everyone's always trying their hardest to be discovered. And I think a lot of times the storylines and the major promotions really weigh down the product quite a bit.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre, someone, and me and Tom kind of laughed at a meme we saw earlier. I don't want to see Drew McIntyre with a sword talking about his Scottish heritage. I need Drew McIntyre to be mad he's not the WWE champion anymore and just tear somebody up.
Yeah.
Do you feel like storyline progression is kind of dwindling a little bit? And if it was up to you, would you focus more on storylines being better or just the in-ring work?
That's a real tough one. I do think that storylines are really important, and I'll say on a personal level, the places that I work where I connect to the storyline, I perform better. So like, I wish that promoters would let the wrestlers have more input. I think it would be better for everybody, because when I feel passionate about the storyline I'm in, then I feel passionate about the match, and the rest comes after that. So it's like it's a toss up. People can't like only focus on storyline, and people can't only focus on the ring work. It's really got to be both.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100% because, somebody can perform the moves perfectly and that's all fine and great. But if there's not a reason and an investment in why they're performing the moves, then it doesn't have the same effect. And vice versa. You can have a great story, but if you're sloppy in the ring, then it takes away from what the story is.
Yeah.
Right there with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know why someone's wrestling someone. Like, why is this match on my card? And like you and Billy, it was just perfect. It's a tournament.
Yeah.
You want to be the girl fight champion. It's just that simple. But sometimes, and way too many times, you're at a show, and I'm like, well, what's the backstory? Why do they hate each other? Why should I be invested?
And I have to be invested. Like, I have to know why I'm fighting this person. That is so important to me, especially like talking about promos earlier. It is so hard for me to write a promo if I don't have a good reason to be fighting you. And that's just, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I have to believe my own story. And it helps with building the matches too, Like it's all part of that. You can't build a good match if you don't know why you're wrestling them.
Well, Skyler, tell everyone where they can see you wrestle next.
Where can you? I'm at Future Great Wrestling in Hamilton every weekend, or every Friday, I'm sorry. I've been doing Wars summer shows, and there's a lot of places, but a lot of them are secret right now. So you can follow me at on Facebook at Skyler Orion, and I'll be posting updates on there for sure.
Skyler, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Greatly appreciated. Like I said, was really impressed by you in Bedford, Indiana when I watched you wrestle. I thought you held your own perfectly. And anytime, it's my first time really seeing someone perform.
Yeah.
And they can get, all right. That's a good moment for me because, I think I immediately sought you out right after that show and was like, hey, look, I want you to come on here. So sky's the limit for you, definitely.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And my daughter has not forgiven you yet even though you did sign an autograph for her for calling her out for being dressed like Billy Starks that day.
I haven't forgiven her for that either.
That's why you can make her a Skyler Orion fan. See?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. All right. For everyone out there, make sure you all are staying safe. Shows are opening back up all across the U.S. right now. Cannot wait to be at some shows to support all the talent out there. And if anyone's out there and they see us, come up and say hi to us. But it's going to be a great time for the rest of this summer with all the touring going on. And also, make sure you guys head over to PWTs and pick yourself up some of our merchandise. We're going to have a new logo coming soon, and we're going to have some new merchandise dropping the next month or so. Next month, it's our 1-year anniversary, and we've got a great lineup between now and then with some Ring of Honor talent joining us in the next couple of weeks. And we're working on a few more, perhaps big names for some people. I think you're going to be shocked at some of the names that we're going to have on this show. But always, I appreciate all the support everyone's given us. Our subscribers keep going up. Our listeners keep going up. We can't do it without you all. Also, do not forget, pick up a copy right here. My book, Independent Road to Wrestler's Journey. Again, it's continuously rising on the charts. Appreciate all the support out there. For Tom and myself, we appreciate you, and stay safe.